How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Supporters Club. I told you, sit tight, another one is coming. If you haven't watched the previous Supporters Club, then make sure you go watch that. We rate the signings from the summer. We rate Declan Rice, Kai Havertz and David Raya. We left Timber out. You'll know why if you go watch the video. If you watch the video, then welcome to the next part. The next part is the January transfer window. It's about 6 weeks away. It's the last international break before the January window, and it's a hectic schedule in between. So I thought, a bit early, but let's start talking now, especially since last year around this time the Mudryk talk started. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of names linked with Arsenal from now up until that January window. And I'm joined by no other than the legend Chris Hudson and Sharoy back in the building. Same as, you love the panel as it is, so I'm trying to give you as much of the same panel as you like. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, put the notification bell on. And lads, let's talk about January. Let's talk about what we have to do. Let me start. I didn't think this season would be a season where come October, November, I'd be worried about January. I really wanted this season to be a season where we got what we needed to get done in the summer, that we didn't need to be worrying about January. Because it just feels like every year we worry about what's happening in January, Chris.
I'm worried about the summer, but let's talk about January.
Yeah.
Because our squad ain't good enough still.
What do you think we need,
Well, I think
position-wise?
Well, because of the unavailability of certain players, I do think we need another midfielder.
Yeah. Are you talking about Partey and Mantes?
Yeah. And I think we need a striker. But the thing is, because of Arsenal's financial situation with FFP, we got to sell. So you got to think, who we got to sell to raise some money, or do we get someone in on loan?
That might be a better way to start the topic. Let's start like that, because David Raya's agent had an interview with AFTV on the AFTV website. Make sure you go check that out. And he mentioned that the plan was to sign David Raya full time, signed, sealed, delivered. But the FFP problem stopped that. Hence why Brentford worked out a deal that they was happy with. And essentially, it kind of tells me that David Raya is not alone. It will be a permanent transfer come the summer. So FFP seems to be a problem, Sharoy. Chris has mentioned the need to sell. What do you think we do? I mean, do we have players that you see with value come January? Because I know a few of the names that are circling around my head, there's little to no value there in January.
I can name a pretty decent English goalkeeper that I think might want to leave.
That's the one.
Where you could probably make a good drink.
Do you think we can get full buck for Aaron Ramsdale?
It's always difficult because you're now going to be talking about a one-to-way player. You get value for players that you don't want to sell, and players that ultimately aren't sort of doing a beauty parade. Aaron Ramsdale is, in my opinion, with the Euros coming up, going to be sitting there going, come get me. And that might diminish his value a little. I'm looking, the way that I'm determining the players that we can let go of is I'm looking at which players do I either think aren't good enough, or does Arteta clearly not trust. Mm-hmm. I personally...
You know what? Sorry to cut you, but you know why that's hard to do? Because as soon as you said, players that Arteta doesn't trust, one name came to my head. Reece Nelson.
Exactly who I was going to go on to.
Does he trust him or not?
Exactly who I was going to go on to. The more I watch the way that Arteta moves, I realise that giving a player a contract does not mean that he trusts them. Yeah. He gave Flo Balogun a new contract. Balogun got no minutes for us, even on American pre-season tour. He was out the door. Mm-hmm. Aaron Ramsdale got a new contract. I was sat on that sofa with Laurie and Robbie lauding Ramsdale and saying this could be a wonderful tenure for a goalkeeper. No, it does not mean that he wants to keep him. He gave him that contract knowing that he had the upgrade in mind. And he's not the only one. I think we, sadly, make false promises to players with false assurances as to game time, get them to sign to protect their value, and then we try and sell them on. So I do think that there are players like Reece Nelson that could maybe attract a fee. I don't know if he'll go. I don't think he'll go because Arteta does trust this player. I think you could get a bit of value from a mid-table club from someone like Eddie Nketiah. Yeah. There are a few players. Does he trust Smith Rowe? Does he? Does he play him enough to suggest that he trusts him? It looks to me like Kai Havertz and Fabio Vieira are slightly ahead in the pecking order, and those are the players that I'm talking about who aren't even my first choice in that position. Yeah. Can you get money for Smith Rowe? Yes. Can you get as much as you would have if you sold him to Villa when they wanted him? No. Mm-hmm. But you can get a bit of money that way.
It's Ruben Neves. Would you take him on loan?
Yeah, that rumour's piped up now as well. I mean, why has that piped up now? I didn't really delve much into it, but...
Because
Because he just moved in the summer.
But the Premier League have passed the ruling that they can't be loaned to Newcastle because they come under the same umbrella.
Ownership.
So he's looking for a loan move during the winter months.
Oh, if it's just a loan, then what you could do a lot worse. Then we've done Kim Kallstrom. So I'll take Ruben Neves. That's for sure. That would be a top loan signing in January.
Wonderful.
100%. What about the player outgoing then, Chris? I mean, who do you see value in?
So I see his value in Smith Rowe.
Even with this latest injury now.
Yeah, but I could possibly see Arsenal letting him go, possibly a Villa.
What do you reckon we get for him?
25, 30. Because there's still potential there. I don't want him to go, but you know, if it comes to it, in the world of football,
The club comes first, yeah.
You know, he could go. Vieira, I'd have no hesitation to sell him. Sorry.
We're not going to make a profit on Vieira. Paid a fair bit for him.
And the goalkeeper, we can't let him go. The only way you're going to let Ramsdale walk out the door, then you got to go and find a new number 2
replacement. Yeah.
So in a way, again, you created another problem.
More work for yourself, yeah.
So, you know, and I would sell Partey.
January.
But no one will, because of AFCON.
Yeah, and
I can't see it.
And the injuries already. People probably wait summertime, 1 year left on his contract, and it looks like Arsenal have had enough. Let's go circle back to Ramsdale and then bring in another player that we've been heavily linked to. Probably the number one player we've been heavily linked to, Ivan Toney. Currently, banned for betting and whatnot. We all know about it. But that ban ends January the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot of rumours about Brentford being open to selling him 100 million price tag in his head.
That.
Would you entertain Ramsdale in a deal for Toney, considering FFP is a problem for us?
I think Brentford are quite happy with the goalkeeper they got. But you mean selling Ramsdale with the money then going by?
Selling or including him in a deal? I'm not too sure how happy Brentford are with the keeper. I can see Brentford
being interested because the goalkeeper they bought was really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's doing really well. Yeah, of course I would.
Would Ramsdale say yes to that though? Aaron Ramsdale signed a new contract at Arsenal Football Club, ultimately under the pretense that one, he was going to be on a certain amount of wages that Brentford will not be able to cover, and two, that he was going to play Champions League football. Now I know he's not playing in the Champions League right now, but if he holds out and something happens to David Raya, he will be playing in the Champions League. Brentford are a very good team. Brentford will not be in the Champions League next year. Is Aaron Ramsdale going to be happy taking, no disrespect to Brentford, love the club, very close to where I grew up, a backward step? That's the issue here.
But has he got I'm not going to say a forward step in him, because a forward step would be Man City or Liverpool, and neither are going to be entertaining a keeper anytime soon. If you look at the big 6 clubs, and even if you include Newcastle in this, I think the only team he can join is Chelsea. But Chelsea are not going to be Champions League next year either, or probably not.
They could be.
They might do. It's still very early, but they might do. But
But at least his wages are covered. So he might say, okay, I might not play in the Champions League, but I'm going to get paid.
That's where, if his dad's coming out to speak about him, if he's so unhappy and not playing, do you sacrifice some wage to play week in, week out? How much is it on your mind that you're not playing? That's where that will come into play, because we've seen Chelsea spend big in January. We've seen them spend big again in the summer. So we know they've got the money, but they will also play the game with us. I don't think they're going to offer any, if they was to offer, for Ramsdale in January, nowhere near what we should get for him. And I believe if it's a Chelsea, we should be entertaining 60 to 70 mil.
Correct.
They spent 73 on Kepa.
Yeah.
On Kepa. So
a long time
for an
ago.
English keeper, that's 24, 25, Ramsdale could be their keeper for 10 years. He's been in a title challenging side already. I think, 60, 70, but I don't think Chelsea are probably the only one that would entertain such a signing in January. I think his options will be limited, Ramsdale. So unless it's going to be a loan, which would suit him, that doesn't suit us. Loaning at Ramsdale in January doesn't suit Arsenal at all.
No.
So it has to be a sell or your backup for the rest of the season, in my opinion. I'm not entertaining a loan.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I don't see how a loan benefits either party, and to be honest, but the reason we're talking about outgoings is because we're talking about how that is to shape incomings. Again, we're sat here talking about goalkeepers. This was not an issue. This was not a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Everything over the summer, we had the best start to a window I can remember in a long time.
Yeah.
And all I was sitting there really saying is, okay, maybe a 9 and a backup for Saka. I'm nice. But then Xhaka goes.
Yep.
And then I'm thinking, oh, okay, bit light.
And Havertz comes in.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, okay, bit light. Now I'm looking at 3 players. But with FFP and this goalkeeper problem, I can't even think about addressing those 3 players because we're trying to sort out the back.
We still haven't got a backup for Saka either.
No, because we've got Reece, but he's not trusted.
That's why I look at Moussa Diaby at Aston Villa and I just think,
yeah, I know.
I mean, the 60 we spent on Havertz, they bought him for what, 40 mil? You know,
killing the game right now.
And we still need that backup for Saka. We need that competition. It's not just backup for Saka.
Yeah.
We also need the competition because Saka produces whether he plays good or not. Yeah. That's what makes him a great player. And that's what will keep him a great player. Even if you're not playing well, you pop up with a goal or an assist.
Yeah.
But we've also seen more consistent performances from him in the past, and maybe competition can bring that back out of him too.
So, but just on that, what I would say is one of the positions that I and everyone else will go on about is the player down the middle, the 9. If we do go and get that 9, Gabriel Jesus can be the cover for Saka if it's needed. He can occupy that position to a very high standard. He did it for Man City. When he did it for us this season, I can't remember which game it was, but he looked good.
If we all saw...
Correct, exactly that.
If we all saw Jesus start on the right one game, I don't think none of us would be like, fuck it, what's going on?
No,
we love Saka.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're right.
And that is alleviated by getting the 9. So when you go and get that striker, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You've got a natural player in the position that you think you need to upgrade on anyway. And if you're not going to play Jesus in there, you can play him on the right-hand side, then you have your Saka cover.
Yeah.
That for me is a no-brainer, and that's something I thought we would have done over the summer because it was so abundantly clear to me.
Also, interestingly, Brazil, the new coach, apparently the internationals they've got coming up, he wants to play Martinelli through the middle.
Yeah, I see the training footage where he was playing.
I think I'd love to see us do that.
He's flirted with the idea, I think, a couple seasons ago.
I'd love to see, because what was the game where who was it? No, you know when we played in Europe last week, Martinelli moved in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
He looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's an option, but will Arteta, Brazil will do it? Will Arteta do it?
The only thing about that is then you're taking, which I don't mind testing it, but if you do that, then we still need someone in the wing department because you're taking one of our biggest threats, moving him elsewhere. And as much as Trossard can come in and do a job on the left, I like Trossard as someone we don't rely upon. More so if we need him, he comes in and he does his job.
Yeah.
I don't want to rely on him week in, week out. I want him to be that chess piece that we use to start a game here.
There is another player we could sell, but I don't want him to be sold. That's Kiwa, because a lot of the Italian clubs are sniffing around him.
Yeah.
But thankfully the Arsenal said he's untransferable.
Limited game time, but he has looked decent.
Yeah, I think he's a good player.
Composed. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say one of the reasons why I don't think we can afford to sell Kiwior regardless of value is we don't have that many backups in that position on that left-hand side, right? And I mean...
He's the only one. Left-footed centre-back, he's the only one we have.
There you go. I mean, what else are you going to do, realistically?
What about Eddie? That's the elephant in the room for me.
I don't think he'll sell him because he loves him, Marty. I know what we think and what he thinks, but Arteta, what he thinks counts, basically. I don't think he'll sell him. I'm sorry.
It's a tough one for me because, look, Eddie got a chance when Jesus got injured in January and he hits the ground running, it stales up, and then Trossard comes in and Eddie doesn't start another game. Reset, new season. Injury to Jesus. All right, Havertz starts the Community Shield, but Eddie starts in Jesus' place more often than not. Similar circumstances, the last couple of weeks, Trossard steps in and we look a better team. I don't expect Eddie to retain his place now moving forward. So if leading up to January, Trossard keeps his spot for the second time this year, taking it off Eddie, then I love him or not, Arteta, I've seen you give him a chance twice in one calendar year, and the player you brought in January to be backup for Martinelli is coming in and displacing him. So for me, love or hate, let's kind of iron this out.
I just can't see him being sold in January. I really can't.
But what Turkish is saying is fair. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
actions speak louder than words.
It's just an opinion, but I just can't see Arteta selling him.
You know,
what about a swap deal for Tony?
Yeah, look, I mean, what I would say is we only let go of Eddie if we are addressing that position.
Yeah, 100%.
And my point there is, if we're addressing that position, I don't want to be buying another backup to Jesus. I want to be buying a very different type of striker, but someone that ultimately elevates us in the attacking third. At which point, some people might say Jesus is the backup. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But at that point, is Eddie even going to be okay being the third choice, given the assurances that he's had? The way I look at Eddie and Nketiah, and perhaps even Emil Smith-Rowe, because I remember you saying, look, I don't want him to go, but I think we can get value for him. Look, this is coming up to the time of the year where I go through my wardrobe and I look at the things that I bought and I used to love, but I don't wear very much, right? I don't like being a hoarder. There are things that I like, but I get rid of them. I either sell them online if I can get value for them, or I give them to the charity. I do something with them.
And you miss it sometimes, but...
That's it. But ultimately, if the stuff that I bought to replace that item of clothing is better, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
And that is what we need to do with these players now. You can't hold on to players for sentiment. You can't hold on to players because you might lose face, because you showed a lot of faith in them in terms of the way you articulated your perception of them. Actions speak louder than words. Yes, he has trusted Eddie to a certain extent, but no one can shy away from the fact that Trossard has probably looked better and had more of an impact when he's come in, and he's actually displaced Eddie 100%. At times. I don't even need to talk about what Gabriel Jesus does when he's in that team. So for me, it's actually quite clear who's better down the middle and who makes Arsenal better down the middle. Eddie is one where, look, if you told me to put money on whether he'd go or not right now, I'd say no, but that's not because I don't think we'd sell him. I'd say that's because I'm worried we're not going to shell out for the big man in January.
A warranted worry as well when you look at the last, our January windows in general, and up until this summer windows in general used to be, he's worth 100 million now, he's worth 70 million now. Yeah. But it's like I said, that 100 million Rice move, are we turning a corner or not? Are you bringing me Mbappe in 2024 or not? Listen, we'll talk about that next summer. But from the conversation we've had so far, I think striker and a centre mid, whether it's 8-6, is the preference, ideally, to improve this side, right?
Yeah.
Ruben Neves would be fantastic. I really like Zubimendi. Since we were linked with him last January, I've kind of paid a closer eye on him, and he would be perfect for us in terms of what Mikel wants. He's got that Jorginho about him, but he can also carry the ball through the lines as well. The Zubimendi will be impossible in January, so I'd take a Neves. But the striking one, there's two options now. Do we go for Tony in January, who, we might have to break the bank for? But this is a big season after challenge, and a lot of us want, we always want to win the league, but a lot of us want to, go on and win it this season. Do we spend big and break the bank in January for a Tony, or do we hold out till the summer and go for a Osimhen or maybe a Ferguson at Brighton, where there's, I don't know, I wouldn't say Ferguson's better than Tony right now, that's for sure. I'd say Osimhen is, but there's different pros to an Osimhen or a Ferguson at the end of the season than there is to Tony in January coming off the ban. Which one we would do? Chris, are you not worried about summer? You're focused on January 1st. Do what we need to do to go and win the Premier League.
Yeah, well, if I want to win the Premier League, then I'm going all out for Tony in January. Okay. No ifs or buts.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm selling whoever needs, Mr. Nice Guy, I'm selling whoever I need to raise the money.
Fair, that's fair. I'm with you on that. Shirai?
You've probably said it better than most. If January comes and there is even a remote chance that we could win the Premier League,
go get it done.
I don't think you can start looking too long term.
Yeah.
I think you have to go, I need results and I need them now, because the door was open last year, and let's be clear, we fucked it up. Don't make the same mistake again. Do not make the same mistake again. Go hell for leather to get the results, right? And look, even going back 2 years, one of my first appearances on this channel was a supporters club in and around the January mark. And Aubameyang had gone, and we were talking about Vlahovic, and we were sitting there saying, top four was very much on the cards then, by the way. And we were sitting there saying, the only thing I really think we need for top four is to go and get a gunman in that position. And if we don't get it because we didn't score enough goals, we'll look back and we'll rue it. Exactly what happened. Exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at where we fell short last year, when we were talking about having to rely on players like Rob Holding and needing proper backups for them, look, exactly what happened. It's all entirely foreseeable. I do not want us. I will always sit there and just hold it if we lose the league because of things that are beyond our control. But I know that the club did absolutely everything possible, but a generational team pipped us to it. Is what it is. If there's a situation where it's quite clear that we're talking about not having enough down the middle, and again, it's not just down the middle, because as I said, Jesus could then move to the right. That solves the Saka cover. If we don't do that and go all out for that person now, then you start sitting there and saying, are these men really serious?
That's it. Arteta's done a great job last 3 years to get us back to this place, but we're not unfamiliar with this place. I mean, we've all got years behind us in terms of supporting Arsenal. We've been a competitive club in the past, and under this ownership, we've never taken that extra step of ambition to go from competitive to greats. Now we're back to being competitive. Are we going to take that extra step again? And just on that, looking at Arteta's post-Newcastle rant about VAR, one of the things he was honing in on, he was like, you people do not understand the margins. You do not understand that losing even a point
when you're up against teams like City, teams like Liverpool, teams like, you know, there are a lot of other teams now that are actually looking quite good. The margins are so small. This isn't me saying that I'm not grateful for the business that we have done. Declan Rice is a fantastic signing. I laud the club for it. Brilliant. But the margins are so small that you cannot rest on your laurels and think we've done good business here, so we don't need to continue to do good business. 100%. The margins are so small, the competition is so excellent that you have to go over and above. You absolutely have to. And that is elite mentality, and that is elite ownership and elite business management. And
I 100% agreed. You could call 65 million a fine margin as well. And that's something that we need to turn around. Anyway.
Had to end on that.
Anyway, Chris, Sharoy, love as always, man. Enjoy having this conversation. People, make sure you subscribe to Sharoy's channel, Sharoy's Voice. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, Turkish LDN. Me and Sharoy will have a show coming out real soon. I know I've said that for the last 4 months. It's on me, people. Apologies. But when it comes, it will be fire. Subscribe, Turkish LDN. Subscribe, Sharoy's Voice. Chris Hudson, you can find him right here on the Supporters Club. Hit the like button, people. Let's get to 1,000. Make sure you subscribe. Put the notification bell on. And love for the love. We're out, people. Peace.